Today we're gonna unbox and check out the Anker Everfrost 2 58 liter cooler. Coming up. So first off, Anker did not send this to me. I paid for this with my own money. So I just wanted to get that out of the way for full transparency. So during those trips where I don't take my trailer, usually short trips, 2 to 3 nights, I've just been using a Rubbermaid cooler. It's just a cheap cooler. It's not very big. I don't even know how many liters it is, but I do know that it didn't really hold ice for very long. Most of them don't. It's a very inexpensive ice chest. I can't imagine that I spent more than like $20 to $40 on it. And I've had this for probably more than 20 years, and it definitely has gotten me by. However, when I do use it, and let's say I take something out and I want to put it back in, say like a half gallon of milk or something like that, the ice falls down in there and then you can't shove it back down, and now it's sitting on top of the ice. It's not going to stay as cold, and it was just kind of getting annoying. Also, I'd have to make a special trip to go and get ice. I'd always forget. The ice from Sonic works the best in the ice chest, but still, I have to go out of the way in order to get it. A lot of times I'm gonna have to dig through the ice to get to things, and when it's cold outside, having cold, wet hands is just not ideal. It's not enjoyable. Now, one of the barriers I did have to purchasing this was the price. Like, I had that barrier in my mind was just hard to overcome at first. This cost $800 when I purchased it. It was on sale. I purchased it for $800 through Best Buy. And this is the only model that they carried, which is the 58 liter. It's the largest model that Anker makes, and seeing the box, I may have gone a little overboard. But the more I thought about it, a very common ice chest to use and very popular is a Yeti brand. Now, they're not doing anything special. They're just using a whole lot more foam insulation, which is the same stuff that is in this ice chest. It's just more of it. That's all. And charging you 10x or 20x price. But anyway, so I did take a look to see what some of those Yeti coolers were going for. And I'll put some images on the screen here. Various sizes were anywhere from 325 and upwards. I think there was even a very large model. I think it was bigger than this one. It was like $660, and this cost $800. So it was a little bit easier to justify in my mind spending the money on this. Now, because of the size of the box, it might be hard to stay in frame. I'm doing my best here. As I'm opening it here, I might also add another reason I wanted to buy it from Best Buy is because I can have it shipped to Best Buy instead of shipped to me. And if there was a lot of damage on the box, on the outside of the box, then I could just reject it right there at Best Buy, because I saw a couple of other unboxing videos where the box had a significant amount of damage, and one of them even had a dent in the top of the cooler. So that was another reason why I wanted to order it through Best Buy. Now, like I said, I'm concerned because this box is absolutely massive. I'm hoping that it's not quite as big as what the box looks. I don't know how easy it's gonna be to get it out of here, or if I can indeed do it myself, but we'll see. I see some accessories in here, probably some charging stuff, some other cables and cords. Wall cord, a charging, or the power brick, whatever you want to call it. And this is going to be a 12-volt socket plug. Looks like there's a couple more things in here. Oh, these are wheel chocks. This is obviously going to be the business end, because I can tell that because it's heavier on this side. So yep, that's where the wheels are at. And the handle is over on this side. So obviously they're gonna have the heavier part of it over the wheels. I mean, that makes sense to me, so that's the way they did it. Not always the way that the companies do it. So let's see. Now that it's out of the box, yes, it is fairly large. I'm hoping that it will fit underneath my tonneau cover and be able to close it. When it was in the box, it definitely would not. So no, I didn't take any measurements or anything like that prior. Didn't really think about it. Also, when I ordered it, I wasn't home to measure my truck, so yeah. So this is the only model that has 2 compartments. The medium-sized model has 1 compartment and has a fan. Then the small model does not have a fan. I put fans in my fridge and my camper trailer for the same concept. You circulate the air through there to help keep things cool and more efficient. And this is a refrigerator. I was wondering that, and I did find one single short that tore it down, and it has an inverter compressor in it, just like a normal fridge. So it's got a condenser and an evaporator. So it is, in all sense, a fridge. It's a battery-powered fridge. So we're getting towards the end of my trip, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to note about this cooler. Within the first 2 hours of me unplugging it from the wall, loading it in my truck, and loading the cooler, the battery dropped 30%. And that's pretty noticeable within 2 hours. That means it's not gonna last the 78 hours that they claim. Obviously, it's going to be in ideal conditions. I really wish the companies would severely underrate rather than exaggerate, or like ideal conditions, best case scenario. It was clear to me that it was not going to last anywhere close to 3+ days. Now, one of the things I do want to note is I did unplug it, load it into the truck, and then load the cooler. So there was maybe that added into it, that it had to cool it back down after me loading it. I did have 1 freezer section and 1 refrigerator section. So when you turn it on, it's automatically set at -4 degrees for the freezer and 32 degrees for the fridge. So that was one of the changes that I made while I was up here after I noticed that the batteries were dropping pretty quick. The ideal temperatures for a freezer is going to be 0 degrees, not -4, and a fridge is anywhere from like 35 to 38 degrees. So that's one of the things that I did. I bumped up the temperatures of both, and then I turned it to eco mode, which doesn't utilize the fans that are in it, which, I mean, it's kind of nice to have the fans, but if you're not using them to get the most battery life, what's the point of having the fans? Anyway, but that did stretch out the batteries. I recharged one of them because it was completely dead yesterday morning. I think yesterday morning the one battery was dead and the other one was around like 70%. After charging that battery yesterday, we are now at 97% and 35%. Partway through yesterday, I did turn off the freezer section because I consumed everything that I had in the freezer. I didn't have that much in there. And I think that has also helped. If you had them both as cooler sections or refrigerator sections, I think that that would stretch out the batteries significantly more than having a freezer section. It hasn't been terribly hot up here, maybe 79 degrees at most, but it's been in the shade the entire time. It's got a little bit of sun on it right now in the morning, but it is still cool out. It's still 60s. Another thing that I am noticing, it doesn't charge very quickly. The solar panel input is about 100 watts, and it looks like the car charger and the house charger are both like 90 watts. And then when I tried charging the batteries through USB-C, because I didn't want to lug this over into the sun because I was charging my C2000 with solar panels. So I took one of the batteries out and I plugged it into the battery over there so it could charge. And it charges at about 58 watts. So it takes a decent amount of time to charge it. So those are some of the things that I'm noticing. I don't know if the wall charger would really charge it that much faster. I haven't tested that, but I will test that. Okay, so I was reading some of the numbers online. It said that the car charger was 90 watts, and it said the wall charger was 90 watts. It's pulling 120 watts from the battery, and it has 88 watts going into the battery on the cooler to charge it. So like I thought, this is the fastest way to charge the cooler. I wasn't quite sure, but it was just kind of a theory. But now that I actually see the numbers, it is confirmed that the wall charger is going to be the fastest way to charge it. When it was plugged into my truck on the way up here, most of the time it was like putting 58 watts into the battery at most. Most of the time it wasn't putting anything in at all. So the car charger is not really pulling or putting out that much power. Over a 2.5 hour drive, it went from 71% to like 81 or 83%. So it didn't really put a whole lot of power into it. My truck does have an inverter for a 120 volt outlet. It's got a 100 watt or 400 watt inverter. The 100 watts only works if like when the truck's off, it'll only put out 100 watts. The truck has to be running in order for it to put out 400 watts. However, that outlet is in the bed of my truck. So it doesn't do me very much good when the cooler has to be inside my truck. Yes, I could leave the tonneau cover open, but I don't like to do that. I want to have all my stuff covered, keeps the dust out, keeps the dirt. If there's rain, keeps rain out. So I'd rather have it closed. So that is just an excuse for me to get a kit to tap into the inverter and put a 120 volt plug on the inside of my truck. I saw Chloe Kuo do one of those, and I will do one of those myself so that I can plug this into the inside of my truck. Just another project that I'm going to have to get to, find time and money. But yes, it is going to be fastest to use the wall plug to charge the cooler. USB-C and the car charger are going to be the slowest methods. Now, so I was thinking of doing it like this because I can put a lot more solar into my C2000, whereas I can only put 100 watts into the cooler. I may get another 100 watt panel specifically for the cooler, but I'm not entirely sure. They're not inexpensive, plus that's one more thing I got to drag around with me. But I only brought, in camping like this, I only brought a single 350 watt solar panel. So when I have to charge the C2000 plus the cooler and everything else off from it, I mean, it did an okay job, but everything's not quite topped off in one day. When I take the trailer, I have 700 watts solar because I have two 350 watt panels. And yes, I could probably bring both of them with me. But again, it's weight, room, and messing with all that kind of stuff. So what do you guys think? Should I get the 100 watt panel for the cooler? I don't know, let me know. Now it does sound like I'm complaining about it. I am not. I am very happy with my purchase. It is quite large, and unfortunately it's about 1 inch too tall to be able to fit underneath my tonneau cover on my truck and be able to close my tonneau cover. So I laid the seats down in the back of my truck, and you saw me loading it into the back of my truck. It was easy to load. There was plenty of room to get it through the door, so no issues there. I was a little concerned with the weight, so that's why I loaded it into the truck first before loading my contents into it. Getting it out, I was a little concerned. As you saw, I showed part of me unloading it, but I had my camera remote in my pocket, and as I was unloading it, I turned it off. So it cuts out, that's why. But it wasn't an issue. I didn't have this thing completely loaded as much as you could fit in here, so it could get pretty heavy pretty quick. so it might need 2 people to unload it. Again, this thing is no joke. It's pretty decent size. Now, some of my final thoughts on it. If you don't really need the size or need a freezer section, I might go with the medium size. This one is quite large, so keep that in mind. So it's also going to go through batteries faster with it being bigger and having 2 compartments. If you're okay with those things, then I can definitely recommend, so far, the large size, this 58 liter. I'm happy with my purchase. I love the fact that there's lights in it and I don't have to try and hold the flashlight while I'm trying to dig through ice. There's no ice in here. You could use ice in here, but I don't know why you would. There are drains in the bottom if you need to, if you have a leak, need to clean it out. The handle that converts into a table's nice little addition. I like that they did that. Is it a necessity? No, but since you have a handle there anyway, I do like that. One thing I do want to note is this does not stay up on its own. So when you're like moving it around, I like let it go and then it flopped right back down really hard. So that is definitely something that you need to be aware of. It doesn't stay up on its own with any sort of tension. So that's it for the unboxing and my initial impressions of the Anker Everfrost 2 58 liter cooler. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll see if I can put any links in the description to guide you towards it if you need that. We're just gonna wrap this video up right here. We'll catch you on the next project. See ya.